welcome to the Q&A. This is just something I'm just starting to share with you guys because I've got tons of questions. Hi, Ada, long time no see. Thank you for joining me. I'm so excited to be with you for an hour. Hi, David, nice to see you. Welcome to the Q&A. Yes, I am on live to do this fun Q&A because I've gotten awesome questions like David has and Ada has in the past, and I just want to answer questions. I do not have the Macro Chat live show anymore. I'm sad about that, but I will pop in when I get a lot of questions like this so we can really hone in on you and your macro photographer. Photography. I was looking at the Vern rules. Yeah. Hey, I wanted to say thank you, David, too, for sharing your images. I went through my emails today and I saw your beautiful work. You're rocking the macro scene, so I'm really proud of you. And I'm glad that you're sharing them with me. It's exciting to see what you've been up to. So, yay! Hello. Excuse me. Look, I'm starting and it's totally live, so you never know. You never know what's going to happen. So, yes. Hi from UK. Alzadair. Welcome. I am really excited that you're here from the UK. That's far. Ada, yes, I fall in love with pretty. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. So what I'm going to do is, this is one of the things I want to do before I actually start doing the Q&A. I wanted to ask you guys, put in the chat where you're coming from. I would love to know where you're coming from, and I will shout you out because that's what it's all about. Now, David's from Laverne rules. He's in the same city that I am in Southern California. And yes, it does rock, doesn't it? Now, I've never been to UK, would love to go there. My daughter has. She has her best friend lives in UK. And then Otto, where are you again? I remember you're on the other side of the Atlantic. So those of you that are watching, share in the chat where you're from so we can get to know each other as we are chatting it up during the Q&A. And then once you're doing that, I would love to know tell me your favorite macro subjects that you like to shoot. Let me know in the chat, because what I'm doing right now is I want to get a feel of who's here. So I have 4 questions. Well, 3 because I'm asking you basically where you're from, but that's not about macro. So I want to know in the chat, what are your favorite macro subjects that you like to photograph? Let me know. I do have a delay. So because I'm using OBS, it is about a minute, and it could even be longer for you guys in the UK, in Europe, far away. So let me know about what your favorite subject is to photograph in the chat. I'll tell you mine while you guys are writing that up. I like to photograph flowers. That's my favorite. Seriously, it is my favorite. But I also like to do abstract macro work. So your mind thinks a little bit about what subjects that I'm shooting. Like, you have to think, like, what is she trying to do here? I like to do that too. And then, okay, I don't see the chat yet. Let me see. Come on, you guys. I know you could do it. So Alzadar says, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. I really apologize. I'm really bad. So he says mostly flowers, but also insects and butterflies. Butterflies are so beautiful. We have in Northern California I've always wanted to do this. It's like they migrate and they go down to Mexico, and it's just like a butterfly fest of monarchs. And I've never done that, and that's on my bucket list. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Debbie, hi Debbie, nice to see you. She is one of our inner circle members. Welcome Debbie. Yes, she loves to photograph flowers, especially from her Pennsylvania garden. And she is absolutely amazing. So Debbie, I'm going to tell you guys right now, this is the thing. The more I get to know you guys, Debbie is in our Inner Circle membership, and she is going to teach us. This is going to be a private one for the first time. She's going to have her first workshop in the membership. I'm crazy excited because Debbie's work is absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if you could put your I don't know, Debbie. I've got you as an admin. You could put your website up there. It's good inspiration for flower photography. David, I'm just learning, but I really love the flowers, but I want to play with bugs. Well, this is the time frame for you to do this for sure, because we've got the flowers are just blooming. The bugs are out here because it's spring up in the northern hemisphere. So it is going to be hot today, unfortunately, here in Laverne, but it's going to cool down. What I suggest for you to do too is get some rocks in your backyard and then lift them up and then start shooting away. I always have fun stuff when I lift my rocks. So hi, Andrew. Nice to see you. Yes, Washington. Nice to see you. We just met on our Facebook, our professional macro Facebook group. If you guys like macro and you like Facebook, join our professional macro Facebook group. It is so much fun. We have 9K in there, 9,000 people, and it's all about learning and pushing your creativity. And I jump on there every Tuesday for an Ask Me Anything Tuesday for an hour. So that's where we got to meet. Ada. Now, Ada, I got to meet when I was doing post-processing live. Do you remember that, Ada? That's when I was doing that. I don't do that anymore, but that was where we met. Early on, I loved to photograph insects. Then I saw more interesting and beautiful things. Cannot say macro, but close-up. That's okay. We're all close-up and macro. Doesn't have to be technical here. But close-up with macro lens becomes very attractive. Yes, the macro lens is, we're going to talk about that today in a Q that I got. I will give them an A. So Andrew says, plants, man-made, personal-made stuff, actually anything of interest to see up close, right? And yeah, for sure. That is, I like anything that your eyes would not see as you're walking by. I think that's one of the things that we love to do, is getting up close up and macro. Now, I am a landscape photographer also, but I'm honing in now more on macro just because of constraints of us doing landscape photography. So if you have questions on landscape, you feel free to ask me. That's okay. But it is really, today is a Q&A on macro photography. So yes, and so now I want to ask you another question so I get a feel. Now, I know, David, you said you were newbie. I want to know, how long have you been photographing? Period. Not macro. Just, you could add this as a double. How long have you been photographing, and how long have you been photographing macro? Now, this gives me a feel when I do the Q&A, because I have a lot of questions that I'm going to go through, but I get a feel of who's here now. So then this way I can look out, and I actually think about who's here now. That's why I like you guys to answer these questions and to go for it in the chat, because then it really helps me think as I'm doing the Q&A, so I can get those questions answered to you guys today. And I'm doing this because I get a lot of questions from people, and I feel bad because I just don't have the time to email everyone back. So what I've done, because I get questions from LinkedIn, Facebook, and not so much Instagram, because I haven't been on Instagram. I need to get back on that. I'm not a very friendly, I just like to see photographs up in your face, and Instagram's so small. So I have a hard time. I wish there was a good platform for us photographers, especially macro, because what happens with the macro photography, if you don't see it up really close in your face, then you lose some of the work that we've worked so hard for. So let me know on that. I'm going to take a drink of water. You can see here while you're answering that question of how long have you been photographing? Please don't be shy. Tell me the truth, because this really helps me hone in on the Q&A. And how long have you been photographing macro in general? You can see I've got my flower this is from my yard. And this is from my yard also. This is Spanish. I forget what it's called. I bet you, Debbie, you know what it is, right? So while you guys are chatting that in, I've got this going on here. If you're watching the replay, let me know down below in the comments section how long you've been photographing and how long you've been photographing macro. And the next Q&A, I don't just set these up. What I'm going to do is when I get a lot of questions, I will then jump on. So I don't know when I'm going to have the next Q&A, to tell you the truth. So I'm just doing this because I've got a lot of Q&As and I want to make sure I get that going for you guys. Let's see. So Ada, you started with the smartphone 7 years ago. That's awesome. And they make and then I said with the DSLR, only 2 years? Wow. That's pretty good for what you do. You really rock it too. And macro, less than 1 year. Wow. Okay, that's cool. All right, you guys go ahead. I want to keep going. Write those in. As you guys are writing those in, I'm going to come back. I'm going to let you know who I am, because a lot of people don't know who I am, because truthfully, I never hung out with any photographers, because I'll tell you why. So let me just tell you who I am. My name's Janice Sullivan, and I own Sullivan J Photography. I am a professional macro and a fine art macro and landscape photographer. And I'm going to tell you what I previously do. Now, I still do this occasionally, but my main goal now is to help photographers. But this is what my career is or was here. I've sold my images to the hospitality industry. And that means that if you go to a hotel or a high-end restaurant, you could see a Janice Sullivan. I've had my images in the Capitol, the United States Capitol, which was a huge honor, a show there. And I've actually won Best in the World for my photography flowers. One of the things that I got in really early is the streaming devices. I noticed things were going, and I communicated with somebody on LinkedIn, and now my images are on a variety of streaming devices, and they reach up to 91 million people, which is really, really awesome and exciting. And I'm also very, very honored now to have actually been honored to have one of the top 20 macro websites to follow in the world since 2018. So, the dog's barking. Hopefully Coco won't bark. And I say this not to brag, because I am very humble and very grateful. This is only a little bit of what I've done in my career. But the reason why I want to share this more often is because I realize that not very many people know who I am. And I want you to know that the information that I'm giving you is from somebody that really does know her stuff. And it's because I've pushed my whole life into creating and expressing myself through art and photography. And now what I've done is I've decided to dedicate my life, and Debbie knows that I dedicate my life to help macro photographers to make world-class photography, so they really, really are proud to share with the world their work and to inspire other photographers. And I do put my heart and soul into it, because I understand how it feels to be stagnant and maybe not want to go back to college, but have that drive of creativity that you just need a little bit of hand holding to just motivate you to get you to go forward. So now what I've done is I've created Adventures of the F-Stop Inner Circle program. And this is where we do work with macro photographers and some landscapers to really focus on the goals that they want within their photography from the beginning to a professional status. And I've just opened up my creative mentorship. It's a one-to-one mentorship where we set goals together and work one-to-one. And the first 8 people, I'm giving 70% off for this because it's, it's a founding price. And I'll give you that information after the Q&A. But I am accepting applications, and I'll put the link in later. So with that, I am excited to go on and really chat about your Q&As and to answer your questions. Let me see what you guys have said so I really understand who's here. So Aldisar, 40 years, general macro, last 10 years. So you've been doing it for a while. And firstly, but the last 2 years with full frame, which is awesome. I love full frame. It's like what you see is what you get, Let's see. Debbie, photographing macro started about 10 years ago, just dabbling. I've been photographing macro more seriously for the past 3 years. And you really have. See, that's what I'm saying. It's nice to get to know you guys because I know where you were at and where you're at now, like where you were before and where you're at now. And it's exciting. And Andrew, photography 65 years, macro and photo microscopy 60 years, a macro 15 years. Awesome. Oh, thank you, Debbie. I don't really say too much about myself, but I feel like I need to start doing that so people just like, who are you? Well, who are you to answer my Q&A? But, it's just the passion. So, yes. Okay. So we've got a newbie to extreme. So we got it well-rounded here. Cool. All right. Let's get on it. I will say that right now I am keeping up with the chat. It's really good. Everything's working fine. If for some reason you have this striving question that you need to ask me, I do have super chat, which means you can put in $1, and what will happen, it will take your question and pull it to the top. It's something with YouTube, and it's not like I'm going to get a lot of money off of the $1. It's not that. It's just YouTube does this, so when you're on live and somebody has a major question, I can get to it because they highlight it and it goes right to the top, and I can answer your question. It won't get lost in the chat. What I usually do is after the live calls, I'll go back and see if I can answer. If I've missed something, I will probably do my best to go through the chat. I do go through the chat, but I'll try to answer it in the comment section. But you'd have to come back. I won't be able to answer it live. So I just wanted to let you know. So let's get to it. I'm so excited. So let me answer. I have questions from individuals, but I also have questions that I get a lot of. So let's go to the basic functions. We will get all the way into selling work. People have a lot of questions of selling work. So since David's here, awesome, David, I'm glad, because a lot of people get embarrassed saying, oh, I'm a brand new person. But I say rock it on whatever you're at, to the beginning to the very end. Even if you're a professional, you still need to strive to, keep going. To be stagnant is just horrible. So let's just do the bank. This is what I get a lot of questions on. I want to get beyond the auto in my camera. So as a macro photographer, this is my suggestion. So you've been shooting auto for a while. As a macro photographer, the first thing I would do is lock in your f-stop number. So that basically is what I would say is at first this is what I would say. The f-stop, this is why I say adventures of the f-stop. Your f-stop is going to determine what's in focus and what's not. So when you have an f2.8 compared to an f22, you're going to see that the f2.8 will not have as much in focus compared to the f22. But what I want you to learn is that you stay with an f-stop, and because of your lighting conditions, you will change your shutter speed and your ISO. You may need to use a tripod. And the reason why I ask all of my apprentices that say that they've never done manual mode is because when you learn manual and understand what your camera can do, all you need to know is your f-stop first, because we're macro photographers. We need to know what we're getting in focus and what not, because as we get closer to our subject, we're going to lose what's in focus. Then we need to know our lighting conditions, because the camera is all about light, and when the light comes in, it hits the sensor and it makes the images. So you've got to learn that. And then your ISO is the sensitivity of the light coming in. So when you have a 100, whereas what you really want to strive for, then you've got a good shot. But maybe you need to bump up the ISO because you're not getting the exposure that you want. Then you can put your ISO higher. Just know when you put your numbers up higher, you'll get the shutter speed that you like, because you're staying with the f-stop number. You're not changing the f-stop number at first. You're going to take a subject. Debbie knows this. You're going to take a subject. You're going to shoot with the lowest f-stop that you have, and you're going to start changing that f-stop number and changing your shutter speed. And you're going to do that to one subject and go from f2.8, f5.6, f11, f16, f22. Replay this if you're a newbie, and listen to Janice in your ears, and do this until you understand what your f-stop's doing and how to get the light into your camera with your shutter speed. Last is ISO. That's how you get out of auto. You just don't wing it. You got to pay attention to your subject. Let's see what any questions are. As I answer a question, I will come back to the chat. Let's see. Okay, no questions. Let's go on. So now let's go on to Jason. So Jason had asked, let's see. Jason is an intermediate photographer, so knows the basics of exposure and post-processing. So one of the questions that he has is he's been researching flowers and insects, and what do I recommend? Let's see, what do you recommend with the camera lens for flowers and, let's say, bees? So this is a great question, especially right now in the spring, and I'm excited to answer this question. So when you are, he knows the basics of the exposure, so that's cool. So now what he's doing is he wants to be able to get a great shot with flowers and insects. So when it comes to a macro lens will get, those of you that do not know what 1-to-1 ratio means, is that the lens, if you take a picture of this and then you print it, and then you put the print next to this is the same, this size will be the same size in the picture. That's all it is. And so that means that's what 1-to-1 is. And so if you're using a 100, it doesn't matter. When it says macro lens, whether it's a 100, a 60, a wide angle lens. If you don't know what that is, it's wide. Say, I don't even know what the wide angles are. I think there's a 65, but there's a 180. Those are still 1-to-1. That means your subject is 1-to-1. So when it comes to flowers, I always suggest that to start with, use 100 millimeter, 105 just to start off. Flowers are great as long as they're not, if they're big like this, let's see, if they're big like this guy, no problem. You'll be able to get all of it in the frame. You'll have fun. 100, 1-to-1, you'll be excited, and I would just go for it. Now, if you want to shoot bees, so if the bee is the main subject, say like you just want that bee very close, the 1-to-1 is going to be frustrating for you. You're going to have to crop your photograph. Now, if you have a bee and you don't care because you want to share some of the background, or if it's on a flower, then you're fine. But if you want to get close to a small subject, and if you are used to macro shooting already, then I would add extension tubes, or you can get bellows, which extends your lens. So the farther you extend your lens, the closer you get to the subject. They have, Canon has a great 65 millimeter, goes, I believe it's 5 times. I'm going to get that lens. I keep debating, but I'm going to get the lens because I'm always wanting to get closer. But anyways, then you'll see 3:1. That means it's 3 times larger than the subject. So as you're getting closer, you're losing what's in focus. So just know that. So that's why it was interesting. Flowers are good if they're big. Bees, if they're with the flower, is good. But if you want to start getting really close to a bee is a lot smaller than that flower, then you may want to get a little closer. But just know that you're going to be snapping. I would take the photograph and just move your head back and forth and try to get those eyes in focus if you are using like an extension tube or closer than 1-to-1. And feel free to do in the chat to answer questions that you guys like, lenses that you like. When I'm talking about programs, feel free to chat, because it's not just all about me, it's about all of us, helping each other. Let's see. No more questions. You guys have no more questions? Okay, we got to get into the harder stuff, right? Let's get into harder stuff. I have so many questions here. Okay. Does any of you guys... Okay. Let's do lighting, because a lot of people have questions on lighting. I get a lot of questions on lighting. So let's do what I want. Lighting. Okay, let's talk about lighting with macro photography. The macro photography is tough, but the way lighting works works for the same for anything. Natural light, continuous light, strobe light. Lighting is a mathematical thing that just happens. The reason why people get so kind of funky with lighting is because it's how it hits the subject. Is it hard, hitting the subject hard? Is it soft? I see a question. I see that. Let me finish the lighting and I'll go in and answer your question. Yay. So what I would like to say about lighting is what lighting does to the subject. So the person Andreas, I don't know if I'm saying it right. It just said lighting? I need help with lighting. So I didn't know for sure. Most of the time, that's usually natural light. But I'm just gonna explain about lighting. When you have lighting that comes straight into your subject, it gives it a soft feel. That's why women don't want side lighting, because side lighting, what that does, it shows all of the details of the subject. So if you hit the light to go to the side, you will get shadows. So you'll hear me say this a lot. When you're paying attention to lighting, what you really should be doing is looking at your shadows. That really does help you. And lighting can give you a flat feel or some depth. And then another thing that's really good with macro, which I love, is the 90 degrees. That gives you the rim light, and that can really outline your subject. So the true thing of the matter is, if you've ever looked at the egg lighting, it's like the basics of lighting. You put an egg, and then you just move your light around, and you'll be able to see the egg and how it looks. I suggest you play with the egg. It's just like it's a project. You put the egg there, and then you don't have to photograph. I would photograph, but you don't have to. You could just look at the egg and look at what it does as you're doing, moving your light around it. I would use continuous light so you could see it, and it gives you you really pay attention to what's happening to the egg. One of my favorite things to do is backlighting. I love backlighting. And then that's when you, most of the time, if I'm not doing a silhouette, you need to learn how to bounce. And most of the time, I'll use a reflector to bounce light into my subject. So that is a fun way to learn lighting. Do the egg project. Just look it up on Google. I'm excited. Let's see. So David, you have a 40 millimeter. Oh, okay. So that's a wider lens. And then Alisdar. Oh my gosh, I'm butchering your name. I'm so sorry. Alastar? I'm really trying to get your name. I'm sorry. What is the best setup for handheld focusing stacking, especially with regards to the focus point? Single point or center zone mode? Focus mode, single. Okay, so you're asking about the modes. So, yes. Let me read this again for people that are not looking at the chat. What is the best setup for handheld focus stacking, especially with regards to the focusing point? So he's saying the single point or the center zone, that does more, and then focus mode, which is the single focus or continuous. Okay, so when it comes to macro, if you're not too close, then what I usually do is I do a single, and in the back. So I have my camera set up on the back, you can actually go into your camera and change how you want the camera to focus. And I use a back focus, if you haven't heard of that before. And so then when I'm pushing on it, it will focus where I put it. But here's the thing. Truthfully, I use the single, but I use manual. I mean, I'm a manual shot person. So, did we just have an earthquake? Oh, it seemed like maybe it was Coco. I live in Southern California, and I heard a took. Wouldn't that be weird if I had an earthquake right now, you guys? So with that said, I definitely would use more of the single, because we don't have that much in focus, and you really want to get tack sharp where you want our eyes to go. So, it's better to, that's what's so nice about macro, because the things that we do, we have to be very patient. It's a difficult process to do close-up photography, and don't give up, because you'll get it. You'll get it. So when you're hand holding though, and if you can get the shutter speed fast without using a pop, using a flash. So like with a bee, let's just say a bee again, a lot of times I will use my flash because I need it to pop. If the bumblebees are really easy because they just kind of sit there, I don't usually need a flash. So I'll just wait till they get there. But what I do is, let me just explain to you. So I will start off with my back focus, just to give me a general idea of where it's at, but I kind of get it situated with the lens, and then as I photograph, I shoot for the eyes first, and as I'm shooting, I'm hitting the fast. I'm going and I'm moving my head and back and forth just gently. So I have my lens and I'm just like, so it's kind of like a spray and shoot when it comes to, bugs and stuff like that. But you will, if you move slowly back and forth, put your elbows in, don't breathe. That's how I do it. I put my elbows in. I don't breathe. I take a deep breath when I know that let's just say if it's a bug, and then I hold and just, and it works. I'm like a tripod. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? It's like the body's the tripod. I don't breathe, and I'm just like going back and forth. And I get the shot. I mean, it takes a while to do it, but I will be patient. I hope let me know if that helped. So Odyssey, hi Elise, nice to see you. Let me know if that worked, if that helps you. Tamron, so use a 90 millimeter. Otta, 90 millimeters like a 100. So you always use the built-in flash. Oh, wow. And use a snoot on it. Yes. So that's right. Otta puts a snoot. This is one of the things that's really interesting for macro photographers when it comes to lighting. They're just starting to make goodies like that will go for lighting. If you want, say if it's too harsh, your light, you can put this adapter that goes on the lens and it softens the flash, which is really nice because the flashes are just too harsh. So he uses a snoot made by A4 paper, but if I have to use focus stacking at home, I always use my LED torch and some A4 paper for reflection. David, I suppose I should know, but they made me think. No, you should not. You know what? This is the thing. This is what I love. Please, David, you know what? This is about learning and trying new things. You could be photographing for years and you still will learn something new because there's always new techniques coming, new ways to do things. It's not. I don't like it when someone says, you have to do it this way. No, you don't. You do it your way, but is it working? If it's not, then go in and start looking for ways that other people do what you're trying to do. So we're talking about lighting right now. And hi, Greg. Nice to see you. So lighting can be difficult. Now, when I'm in a studio, it's super easy. You can control your lighting so easy because you don't have all of the, you could put whatever you need to soften the light. And well, for me, it's easier because I don't have the wind to mess with me. And I'm not doing like flying bugs, I'm doing things that are more stable. So I've had a spider inside and it's really cute. The jumping spider was not happy and I didn't get the shot. I'm very upset. I was upset about that, but I let the spider go because I was like, okay, I'm done. I'll try again later. So So, okay. Oh, Greg, can you talk about how you create masks for flowers in Photoshop, separating them from the background? Awesome. Yes, I will definitely talk to you about that. So, one of the things that I love that Photoshop has just done, Greg, which is really, really cool, is now you can select your subject. It's gotten smart, which is really, really neat. And a matter of fact, Debbie and I were just going through that in the inner circle. Remember, Debbie? So that was fun. So what I personally like to do is, and there's so many different ways to do this, you guys. So this is what I do. I will have my flower, and it has all the it works really good if the flower is a different color. Like say if you have this purple, let's just say, since I have this here, right? And all this green, it's different, right? So this right here is a purple color. And so say I just took a photograph of that. And then what I do is I'll have my layer in Photoshop. I always duplicate my layers. It's for me to see what I had in the beginning to what I'm making. So I can always go back to the original and I could see it. So then I make a duplicate layer and I add a mask to that. Just at the very bottom, you could just click on the mask. It's white, so nothing's happening to it. I double click on the mask. When I double click on the mask, you'll have a pop-up and it'll say select. Debbie, if I'm wrong with this, it'll say you'll have an area where you can get into the mask. I think it's select. Oh, yeah. Select something. Debbie, if you're here, let me know if you, let me know. I don't know if you're still here. But it's a select thing, and you'll see it. And what it does is you're getting into the mask of the details in that mask. And then at the top, it'll say select subject. And most of the time, unless you're doing a green flower with green background, then you're going to have a little bit more difficulties. But then you'll be able to, it'll do such a great job nowadays. And then what I do is I just save that to a separate layer. It'll do save as separate layer in a mask, or I could just say select the mask and it'll say, do you want to replace the white mask? And you say, yes, I want to replace the white mask. So you could just mask it off instantly, and then above it you can put on whatever you want, blur it, add another background. I mean, it's just like amazing, these tools nowadays, that it's really cool. And you can refine the mask to cut it out. Hi, Ellen. Nice to see you. Thanks for showing up. So that's the first try that I'll do when I want to select a flower from the background. Say if you're out photographing outdoors and you don't like the background, you want to fix the background. That's the first thing I'll do in Photoshop. If not, then I will take the section, this is more advanced now. I will select most of the flower that's in it, and I may do sometimes I will change it to a black and white, or I'll just make it super, maybe the color, let's just say that color is different. I love to do color masks. So I will touch on that color specifically in the flower, and I'll do a color mask just for that. And then I will use that mask. And then if you don't know how to do a color mask, I do have a video that is in my YouTube. So just do color mask, and it'll show you how to do it. It works really awesome. But if you have a lot of the background that's the same, you can actually do a selection around the flower and then make a color mask within that. So you're not pulling up some of the other colors. Does that make sense, Greg? If not, let me know, and I may just make a video for you. Let's see. Using select subjects works okay, but tends to miss less focused areas like the stem. Yes. So I have to build a lot of mass by hand. Oh, okay. I wish I would have watched that bottom part. Yes. So that's true. The stem could be difficult. And to tell you the truth, when that happens, then most of the time I'm just selecting around that whole area, and I will try to do the select the subject within that. If it doesn't work, then what I'll do is get the flower and I will do the color mask, but then most of the time I'm painting in the stem, or I'll do the stem in a separate area. When you start doing selections, you can do them off of each layer. So let's say you're doing the flower first, then you want to do the stem. So you can do the stem separately. So don't feel like you have to do the mask for everything. And then another thing too that I want to say is that sometimes the mask can be too harsh or too soft. And that's why I do like the color mask, because it doesn't matter if it's soft or hard. The color mask works because of the color, not because of how sharp it is. So I feel like macro photographers should really learn that. And then if you want to do the stem, you just pick that stem area. And if you still don't understand what I'm saying, is like you just select it first and then you pick that color and it should pick that up. But yes, you're right. It is. I forgot about that stem. That sounds great. I didn't know about the double clicking on the mask. I'll try it. Yes, definitely try that. And definitely try the color if you're having issues with that. It is. It is awesome. I love it. Okay, awesome questions. All right, let's see. What else do I have? Let me look in here. Okay, let's get into, if you guys have questions, put them in here. I'm going to get into the photography business for a little bit because I get a lot of questions about photography business. So I want to talk about that. And then I also about, here's another one that's a great question. Create unique style that others want to purchase or hire from me. So let's get into that right now. So let's talk about business photography. And first of all, when we first get into photography, it's all about expressing ourselves. We want to create. Keeps you sane. It keeps me sane. If I'm having something very, traumatic, photography gets me in the zone to be able to handle life in general, right? I mean, I'm sure it does that for you guys too. The excitement of creating the zone, it's just an unbelievable feeling to make work. To make work that's macro is just even on top of it, because you're expressing yourself and sharing what people normally can't see with their own eyes. So we get to make this for other people. Now, with that said, it is always exciting to be able to sell your work or have somebody say, hey, I would love to have you in a show. Or, because you're putting your heart and soul into your work. I do want to say, though, that when you decide, if you decide to become a business, it is much more than just you photographing now. It's a different level of creating work for the people you want to work with. So, yes, it has for me too, David, for sure. So that's one of the things that I really, I really, really focus on when I work with photographers is first to express themselves so they are making the work that they love and they're excited to share with the world. Because it's scary to go out and share your work sometimes. You build as you make your first portfolio, which is a series of work that is created from your soul and what you love to do. That's your first portfolio that you should always do first before you think about selling your work. And I say this because we are here to create and to express ourselves first. If you are selling work to try to make millions of dollars, then you might want to just stop right now and get into another field. Because the reason why I'm saying this is because when you start a business, any kind of business, you are here in this world to help someone else. And it's no longer about you. Again, I said this again. It really is no longer about you. So I'm going to give you an example. When I first started wanting to sell my work, I didn't really know where I wanted to go with it. So I had to do some soul searching and saying, what do I love to do in my own life? Do I like to write? No, I don't. So I'm not going to go in that. That's me. Do I love interior design? Yes, I was thinking about getting into interior and industrial design. I'm like, well, they need photographs. Maybe I can go that route. So what I did was I personally researched what kind of work do they like. And they didn't care that the images were sharp. They didn't care that it was shot at f2.8 or 5.6. They don't care about that. Now so this is just me knowing my clients. So what you need to do is think, who do you want your clients to be? If you don't know, then go on Google and say, how can I sell I got a book that said ways that I can make money from photography. And you could read it till you're blue in the face, but you got to pick one thing from the book and you got to put your soul and heart into that one thing. This is now business. This is not about you just creating work about you. So I say this because you will have ups and downs in the business. And what makes the business is the strive to keep moving forward. To have mentorship all the way. I have a business mentor. It's like you just need to get someone to push you back up when things are not working properly, or to help you create what the client wants, because that's where it is. And then as you're doing that, things will happen. People will start notice you in that genre. That's why I didn't hang out with photographers. You guys now are my clients. I'll just tell you straight out, right? But back in the days, it wasn't that way. I was hanging out with interior designers. I was going to homes. I was, it was just like I was in that whole realm, and I wasn't spamming. It's just like once I knew what they wanted, then I started photographing for them, and it was fun and it was challenging. And then they got to know who I was, and other photographers got to know who I was. And I was hanging in on LinkedIn because I was more of a business to business. And, it just started flowing, and, it is what it is, right? But I just want you to understand that to create a unique style is something that you will do within your own soul. But if you want people to purchase, who do you want to purchase from you. And then find out what kind of images do they like. If you want to be in magazines, then look at the stories that the magazines are writing about. You can't just, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but it's just like you have to put effort into being a business. And it will come around, and it's super exciting. I'll tell you right now, Debbie, she rocked it. She was like, one thing that I loved about Debbie is like, she was like, oh, I want to sell a little bit. And so she loves flowers. She went to this one florist and said, would you mind if I put my photographs out there? And the florist said yes. And guess what? She sold an image. And how awesome is that? She knew what she wanted to do. She rocked it, and she did it. And she's still doing it to this day. She wants to start teaching. So guess what? We're going to start helping her teach. So that's what I'm saying. Okay. With that said, just do it, because you have that strive. I keep doing it. I have the strive. I have the strive to help photographers now in a different level. And that's why I'm here with you guys, because it really fulfills my needs, and you will fulfill your needs with the clients. So let's see. Do you do macro art pieces specifically for a home? I did in the very beginning, when I started putting up my flowers in the very beginning, I would have people saying, you know what, like I sold to a client that wanted to purchase a specific flower because that is what his girlfriend wanted. So I sold a piece to the client. So, but I've never I never really wanted to work with somebody saying, can you photograph this flower for my home? Can you photograph like it's a contract? I've never done that, because I wanted to work with businesses. I didn't want to work for specific people. But that's not saying that one thing that's really cool that came up once is I like that you do macro photography. Can you do my bouquet, and photograph my bouquet? Well, if they're local, sure, bring it over and we can have it, because they wanted it blown up. So, there's little side things that you could do and, have fun with. So, but for me personally, I didn't want to work with a person to person. I like the business to business. That's how I personally like. But art from an artist. Yes. Now, I have sold my artwork, and that's because of shows. So if you want to start getting into the art scene, then you can go, and what happens is that, like, galleries will take a portion of the sales. So, that's something that you can get into. But I'm saying go wholehearted with the art scene and learn, how to make a artist statement, because that's what it's just like letting the gallery know what the art is about. Then you have, a lot of times, which is really cool, if you are local, then you can have, a reception, which is a lot of fun. And that you get to talk to people that enjoy your work, and they ask you a bunch of questions. And so, yeah, definitely the art scene is a lot of fun if you want to have that type of work and express yourself that way, for sure. And one thing that I want to say is you need to really step into the creative zone to express yourself, and you have to really be adventurous and make work that's totally different, and I'll tell you this too, a lot of photographers may not like your work, but others in the art scene will, because it's different. That's why I'm saying that it's good for you guys it's good to hang out with photographers to be inspiration, but not as a business. it's good to venture out and get to see, like the art scene and stuff like that, for sure. Let's see. Okay, it's already noon. I can't believe it. I didn't get a chance to answer all of my questions. I'll have to do this maybe next month again because it's a lot of fun, you guys. May I see the pedal frame behind you? This one? That one right there was in a show. So this one and this one was in a show, and I'll share it with you. It's heavy. I'm not going to pick it up. But that one, these two were in shows. And so one thing that's nice is sometimes when you have a exhibition, the companies or the businesses will make the frames. I didn't even do the frames. I just gave them the image and they hooked it all up and put it all together. So that was really cool. So that's fun. I didn't even do the frame. But my son says, Janice, he said, my son and my husband say, you need to put your images out so other people can see your work. So that was in the garage. How sad, huh? So one thing that's going to happen is we're going to fix up my studio with more of my work so you guys can see my work. The red one. Yeah, that's this one. It's a Gerber daisy. And so and it's I won an award for that one too. I won an award for that one and I had it in the show. So thank you for noticing that. I totally appreciate that. Let's see. I think I've done most of, I'm looking to see one thing. Okay, so you can still ask questions. I'm just going to start wrapping things up. I am going to give you guys a link that if you're interested and you're adventurous and you want to work one-to-one for 8 weeks to really move what your goal sets are, whether it's business, learning your camera, learning lighting, making a portfolio. I'm doing this Creative AF Stopper mentorship. It's one-to-one mentorship. It's not the membership, it's a mentorship. And I am offering for the founding 8 photographers, first 8, 70% off for founders. So if you guys want to jump on it, I put in the link to my calendar because this is where I don't just let anybody work with me one-to-one. We need to make sure that we can work and get to the goal set that needs to be done by 8 weeks. So I kind of do like a little blueprint, but I want to make sure that we're a good fit. So if any of you guys are interested and you want to really hone in on your creativity, then do a call with me. I'll explain exactly, we'll go through you, answer the questions that are there, and we can have a call, and then I'll go through what we would do together. Greg, you had asked about this before, so I would love to work with you, not just, it's 70% off, so I do a lot with you guys in the 8 weeks, so you have to be adventurous for sure. And we have one-to-one mentorship, one-to-one working with each other. So if you're interested, definitely book in a call, and I will definitely meet up with you on Zoom so we can talk and see if we're a good fit together. And if you have any questions, yeah, definitely ask. All right, you guys, I got to get going. It's 12:05. It went over. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this Q&A. I hope I answered your questions. If not, then just answer down in the comment section, throw some more comments, and maybe I'll do another Q&A next month. Sound good? All right, you guys have a good one. Cheers.